Hi, this is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. Welcome to Loom Knitters Sockumentaries. This series of videos accompanies my book, Socks of All Sorts for Loom Knitters. This book gives you 5 styles of sock top to choose from, 3 styles of heels, from traditional to super easy, 3 styles of toes, sizes from infant to extra large adult, and toe up and toe down methodology. You use the pattern by selecting your details, size, and gauge, and inserting the correct values from charts that are included into a fill-in-the-blank pattern. By doing this, you can knit about 1,000,000 styles of sock in any size you wish. The videos are to help you with some basic skills that make your sock knitting successful. I'm going to go ahead and E-wrap for my rag. I don't really like the E-wrap stitch for socks, but this won't be part of my socks, and it's going to be faster to E-wrap for the rag. It will also make a looser stitch, but since the rag is just something for us to hold on to, a loose stitch is a good thing because it'll get us the distance we want faster. The reason that you need a cast-on rag to knit toe-up socks is that what we're going to do, cast on part of the toe, do the short rowing, and then hang the original cast on. That is very hard to do if all we have to work with is the cast on. But with the waste yarn down below it, it's not going to be very difficult at all. Now, I'm going to let you go and do the same thing while I make my rag 2 or 3 inches long. You make yours 2 or 3 inches long, and we will get back together to bind it off. This loom is brand new to me. This is the absolutely first time I have used it. So if I look like I'm a little bit unfamiliar with it, I am. We're learning together. See you soon. Okay, we're ready to bind off, and it's super important that the bind off be loose because we're going to need to be certain that we can rehang the bind off on the same pegs. So I'm knitting the first stitch loosely, then I'm transferring it to the next peg over. Now what I would normally do is knit this one and hook over and transfer it, and I am going to, but I'm going to wrap around the last peg as well and knit both of these loops over. Oh, phooey. Knit both loops over. Now this is just elongating that bind off stitch so I can drop it, and you see nothing falls apart, it's just making a big stitch. So we'll do that again. Now I'm going to keep doing this so you can watch the process while I talk a little bit about some things I didn't really finish saying before. One of them being gauge. Typically you get about 4 stitches per inch in stockinette in worsted weight yarn. That's fine. If I'm knitting a sweater, I really like my sweater gauges a little bit loose because they drape in a more flattering way. You may want the sweater tight. Oops, I forgot to double wrap that one, I think, so I'm just manually elongating it, which also works fine. Transfer. For socks, if you've ever noticed that your feet don't like some socks, that they feel aggravating, it may be that you're feeling the stitches. It happens to me, and I've heard of other people complaining about it. And the solution to that is not only a nice soft yarn, it's tight knitting so that it's dense below your feet and it creates a smooth surface. Therefore, I prefer my socks to be tightly knitted. Also, when knitting a sweater, you might want anywhere from 0 ease, if you want a tight style, to up to 10 inches. 4 is a very typical amount to choose. With socks, you don't want that. You want something called negative ease, meaning the sock is just slightly smaller than your foot, because if it's not, it'll feel sloppy before the end of the day. You don't want it 2 inches smaller, nothing like that, but a little bit. Some people take a relaxed foot measurement and subtract 1/2 inch to get the negative ease. I actually find it works just about the same. Oops, I haven't done something wrong. Forgot to transfer. I find it works just about the same to measure the foot unrealistically tightly. For example, a relaxed foot measurement of 8 inches might be a tight foot inches of 7.5, so you're getting exactly the same effect as if you took the measurement and you subtracted half an inch. So that works well for me, and it's what I do. And those measurements, the ones I just gave you, typically apply to a small adult foot, sizes 5 to 7.5 or so. However, if your feet are narrow, even if you're an 8 or 9 or 10, you might have only that circumference of foot. And if your feet are either wide, or some dancers have very high insteps from well-developed musculature, and so on little teeny feet they might have a little bit bigger measurement than you would expect. So it's ideal to be able to actually measure the person. But in general, you can go by small, medium, and large because socks do stretch. But a thing to keep in mind is, do you really care if your sweater is half an inch larger or smaller? Probably not. However, half an inch in shoes is 2 sizes in length and more in width. So you care about that half an inch in your shoes. Therefore, good measurements and careful swatching to get your gauge are really essential for happy socks. On the plus side, once you get them to fit just perfectly, there is nothing, oops, that didn't work out right, let's try it again. There is nothing more luxurious than a well-fitted sock. A lot of sock yarns these days have a little bit of lycra or polyamide added to the yarn. Either of those things gives it a little bit of stretch, which also makes for a very, very nice fit. Just about to finish up here. And one more stitch to go. So we'll finish this off pretty much like you always finish off a bind off. Knit off the last stitch. Snip the yarn and pull it through. Okay, I tried a little something here that's not necessary, but I thought it would be a good experiment. The bottom 5 or 6 rows are E-wrapped. You can see them there. Then I switched to regular U-wrap. It's not perfectly even. I was having some getting used to issues with the loom. And then I switched back to E-wrap. This gives you a good demonstration. See how it pulls in the middle? And you can't even see through this nearly as well as you can see through these E-wrapped portions. So these plain stitches are much tighter. This is about as tight as this loom will comfortably knit. Look what happened here. I know what caused it, and I'll caution you. I haven't knitted on this style of peg before. And while it's true on any peg that should you accidentally get one of the fibers on the wrong side of the peg, it will cause this problem and hang up. It's not so likely on pegs of this style. And it is pretty easy to do on pegs of this style. They probably have some great advantages too, but if you get a loom like this, watch out for it. Now we need to know which is the cast on and which is the bind off. And you can easily tell the big one is the bind off because I purposely made it loose. So what we're going to do is hang it back on the same pegs. I'm going to show you on both looms because this rag should work on both looms. I'm only hanging one strand of the bind off. If you wanted to, you could hang 2. But I'm going to actually be knitting it off. It doesn't want to stay put. And the reason that it doesn't want to stay put is this yarn is still alive. I normally am not in favor of killing your yarn, i.e. over steaming it so it loses its character, but this is actually a good time to do it. Then it would stay open and loopy and ready to do your bidding. It would not be very pretty, but that's not what we're after.